Hi, I'm Molly Martin. I train horses and riders through the Grand Prix. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona. I also take a lot of winter clients and help them with coaching and training. I teach clinics throughout the United States as well, and I do a lot of therapy work with the horses using PEMF, a modified shockwave, kinesiology taping, balance pads, whatever the horse might need. One of the biggest questions I get asked about riding is, what does a normal ride look like, and what does my warm-up look like? So every horse is going to be a little bit different, but one of the things that I think about is that if you're competing your horse at second level in dressage, for example, then what that means to me is that your horse is second level in the canter, and your horse would be third level in the trot, and they would be fourth level, maybe even some in-hand piaffe and passage at your walking. So your weakest gait is usually in the canter. The horses usually learn to do the trot half pass before they learn to do the flying change. Another way to think of it, if you're showing training level, your horse can walk, trot, and canter on a 20-meter circle, then your horse should be training level at the canter. But first level, they should be able to understand how to do a leg yield and even how to do a 10-meter circle and be able to do some serpentines in the trot. And then in the walk, they should be more like second level, where they understand shoulder in, haunches in. Maybe they're doing a little bit of the work at the walk pirouette. And so in my warm-up, I see a lot of people, they warm up like this, and they just sit slouchy, and they walk on a long rein, and they just wait for their horse to either have walked for 20 minutes, or they wait for the horse to be warmed up, and then they shorten the reins and they start trotting. But to me, this is not a very comfortable position for the horse to carry the rider, and you can see I'm having to make really big movements in order to turn this circle because my reins are just so long, it's just sloppy. So when I get on to walk, I ride with as long of a rein as possible, but I want some connection with the horse's mouth because I am going to walk my horse through the levels until I get him to the highest level that he can do. So I start out with training level things at the walk. So that might be something like, I just practice, can I make some nice small turns left and right? This works on their suppleness. It starts bringing their brain into wanting to focus for you. It helps move their legs in different planes so that they're not just stuck in a holding pattern of you just waiting for them to warm up. This is a way to help them use their body so they become warmed up. So another way to think of that is if you do gymnastics, you're not going to just go for a 20-minute walk and then start a bunch of tumbling passes on the mats. You're going to do a lot of different exercises that are going to help prepare your body for doing those tumbling exercises. So you're going to do smaller versions of those movements and maybe even a couple strength exercises. So now I'm riding a very steep leg yield across the arena, and I'm just going to tick off all the movements that he can do, like I said, starting at training level and working my way up to the highest level that this horse can manage. One of the things I like about doing this in the walk is that we don't compete in a shoulder in, a haunches in, a half pass at the walk. And so you can slow things down and use this time in your warm-up every day to practice a little bit of the idea of what does it feel like to go a little bit more sideways and maybe even bend my horse a little in the direction he's going and then take it back into a leg yield. So you can make the mistakes in a slower gait and not have the same repercussions that you would have if you were in a faster gait. And you can also, just like I said, slow things down and learn how to work with those movements and problem solve a little bit. So I'm going to do the walk pirouette When I school my walk pirouettes, I don't do half turns. I practice going round and round and round. And when my horse does a half a turn that I say, oh, I'm happy with that last half a turn, I look up and let my horse out of the movement. So sometimes, yeah, it might look like just a half a turn, and other times it might be 6 or 7 turns before I'm happy with those last 180-degree turn of the walk pirouette. I also use the walk pirouette a lot to help my horse understand the canter pirouette movement. So I'm getting ready to exit, so I'm going to look up. When my horse looks that way, I go forward to it without changing his bend. So I've already done a lot of things to move my horse around and start helping his body get warmed up. If your horse doesn't know that many things, you can even do something like free walk back to medium walk so that you can practice going to a longer rein, seeing how much trust you have in your horse in your warm-up, and then bringing them back to a rounder frame and a shorter rein. That's a great exercise to practice because every show you're going to have to lengthen and shorten your reins in the walking, and so it's important that the horse is really comfortable with that and they don't start anticipating that they're going to trot off or canter off every time that you shorten the reins again. And like for my horse, I feel like each time I do that, he starts saying, oh, we're getting ready for the workout session, and so I need to wake up, and I usually get a better quality walk after that. So once I've ticked off all the things that my horse knows how to do in the walking, so really this horse, he knows all the Grand Prix and the canter, so I could run him through a lot more things in the walk. But that's like a pretty standard, what I've done here, like he's in a little shoulder 4 right now, and then maybe I'll do a little haunches in across here. And Pivo loses me if I go to the far end of the ring, so I'm just staying on half. So this is another way to just kind of get him moving around, thinking about listening to me, using his body a little bit more. What's your brain looking at? His little ground squirrel over there. So then when I go to the trot, I want to say, okay, now we need to warm up the trot, training level in the trot. So I lengthen my rein, I let my horse stretch a little bit. Now I'm going to spend a little more time with the stretching. So he's actually already warmed up today. So I might spend more like 10 minutes of trotting and a stretching. Maybe I do some walk, trot, canter. But I'm going to spend a solid 10 minutes on every horse working like training level, first level things in my first set. So I think of most of the horses do 3 or 4 sets of work with walk breaks in between. And I use a lot of times Equilab for this, or I even have an interval timer on my watch so that I make sure that they don't go in that set for too long, but that doesn't usually happen. I tend to walk a little too early, so I have to kind of make myself keep going because I want to give them a break just because they did the right thing for 2 circles when really they need to get a little fitness up too. So once he's trotted around nice and stretchy and can go both directions, I would do a little bit of canter, and this would be his first canter for today, and I would school my transitions a little bit. And I still want them pretty stretchy. And I think about, can I go forward in the canter? Can I come back a little bit? Can I do a trot transition? And can I go to the canter in the other lead? Not very well. And stretching and forward a little bit and back a little bit. So the more I can do more like dynamic working where I'm making more transitions, the faster this horse is going to warm up because he's having to change. I kind of think of it like if you go to the gym and you set your treadmill for a speed of 5 and you read a book and you do that for 45 minutes, yeah, you're getting your heart rate up a little bit, but it's such a steady, consistent pace that it's not much of a workout. But if you do intervals and you set one of those pre-programmed schedules on your treadmill, and it's running you between speed of 3 and speed of 6, not really going a lot faster, but you're constantly making little changes, you're going to end up getting a lot more cardiovascularly fit than if you were just to stay the same speed all the time. Okay, so now that he's done a bunch of training level, I have shortened my reins a little bit, and I'm going to do a little bit of first level, a tiny bit of counter canter. Again, this horse does all the Grand Prix, so this is not difficult for him. And a change, and a little counter canter this way. He has to counter canter a 10-meter half circle for the developing test for the 7 to 9-year-olds. So this is kind of part of his warm-up, is to get a little more counter canter in. And a little forward, and a little back. So for him, that would be like his first set, and he would get a little walk break. And then this walk break tends to be less challenging. It's a break. It's recess for the brain. I've got his body warmed up. I don't need to do a ton of lateral work. I don't need to do a lot of hard work stuff. I just let him actually just have a little break. And then this break could be one circle 20 meters. It could be one lap around the arena. It's not really that long because we don't want him to fully recover before going into his hard work. So when I take him back, I'm going to do the second set. Today is actually an easy day for him. So all I'm going to do is a little bit of easy trot work, shoulder in, leg yield, changes of direction, and just work on his show trot a little bit. And then he'll get a walk break. And then the canter work is going to be just a little bit of the canter zigzag of the intermediaire, because that's what he's showing in a week and a half. And he's never shown that level. So we're trying to make that a little bit more regular through the week. And then his fourth trot set is going to be just stretching. It's going to look just like what I just did here. So that is going to put his ride somewhere between 20 and 28 minutes of trot and canter work, but we will have been in the arena for a total of 45 or 50 minutes. And then at the end of our arena work, we'll go for an actual trail ride, and that will last anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, but today it's going to be 25 minutes because I have to go out of town and teach a clinic. So I have to modify the days sometimes. But like I said, he's worked really hard this week. Next week will be a super easy week because then the following week he goes for a big horse show that I want him to be fresh for. So that's kind of the idea of how I think about a daily workout for the horses. And you can modify that for whatever level that you are. If you're not cantering, you just can have 2 or 3 sets where you say, here's my work session that's around 10 minutes where I'm really focusing on contact and connection and transitions into the trot maybe, or walk halt transitions. They don't have to be that you're schooling Piaffe and Passage. This was a great work session for a first level horse, what I just did right here, or even a training level horse. Well, hopefully this gives you all some ideas of what a warm-up might look like and what a full ride might look like. Feel free to leave any questions in the comments. You can also send me an email or a private message. I'm perfectly happy to answer. And if you have any suggestions for other videos, I'm happy to listen to those suggestions and make a video for you. And hopefully it helps explain it a little bit more. Happy riding, everyone.